Boker Tov, today's daf is daf Nun Tes in Yevmot, a famous daf as we get into next few days, Pruvu and interesting topics. Kohen Gadol says the Mishnah, and we learn for Shlema for Elazar ben Reuma and for Yosef Shriel ben Chaim Michal. Says the Mishnah, Kohen Gadol is almana. No, the pasuk says that a Kohen Gadol, he has to marry he cannot marry it says almana grusha lo yikach. He can't. A Kohen Gadol, a regular Kohen can marry an almana. He can't marry a grusha. Kohen Gadol cannot marry an almana. Bein almana and erusin, ben almana suin. As we've learned, whether there's erusin or suin, you still need a get. So whether she could be divorced or widowed from erusin or from after she was fully married. So even a woman who was still a virgin, let's say she was still a psula, but she was an almana. She got engaged. She was betrothed to a man, and he died. She's an almana, even though she never lived with the man. So Kohen Gadol can't marry either one of them. Either an eris, he can't marry an almana, whether it's an almana me'asun or even an almana me'eris. Ligmar will describe why. But lo yisa bogeres, and he can't marry a bogeres. That's a girl who's 12 and a half years old. As we'll see, that some of her virginity is lost. She's lost some of her virginity. He can't marry a bogeres. He has to marry only a na'ara psula. Means he can marry a girl up until the age of 12 and a half. He could also marry a 1 year old or a 1 day old if her father married her off. That's the Kohen Gadol. Rav Shimon machshir bogeres. Rav Shimon say he can marry a bogeres also as long as she has never lived with anybody. She's never slept. She's not what's called a bu'ula. She hasn't slept with a man yet. She's lost some of her virginity. She's 12 and a half, now 15, 20, whatever. She can marry, according to Rav Shimon, she could marry a bogeres. But lo yisas mukas eitz. Now the Mishnah is not clear. What does mukas eitz means? She's lost virginity due not to human intervention, let's say not to an act of bia, but rather an accident, like she was a stick or something, a piece of wood, hit her ba'osa makam. We'd so call that today, maybe by a horseback riding, she might have lost her virginity. Other sports, whatever, something like that. So Lisa's mukas eitz. Now the Mishnah doesn't say was this Rav Shimon or the Chachamim. So apparently it's everybody, but it's even Rav Shimon who say she could marry a bogeres. We'll see on Amid Beis that she cannot marry a mukas eitz, even according to Rav Lazar and Rav Shimon. So Rav Shimon are more makel, as we'll see in our Mishnah. We see they're more makel in the sense that a Kohen Gadol could marry a bogeres, as according to Rav Meir, the Tanakam is Rav Meir. He cannot marry a bogeres. She must be up until the age of 12 and a half, otherwise he can't marry her. Tana Rabbanim. So the Brisa expands and explains. Like we saw in the Mishnah. Everybody agrees that he cannot take any almana, whether she was simply an almana from Erison. He had never married her fully, just had Erison, and he died. She's still an almana. Kohen Gadol cannot marry her. So more pshita. Because almana leikach, almana is an almana. She's an almana, whether she's almana from Erison. What's the chiddush? Almana mi Tamar. Remember when Tamar's husband died, Yehuda's son, when he married Tamar and then he died. What did he say over there? It says Yehuda says Shvi almana beisavich, stay as an almana in your father's house. Over there, we're talking about, there it's called an almana, and there she's an almana. It says shvi almana. It says malom ben asuin. She was fully married after kam ben asuin. So here also, maybe it's only ben asuin. Maybe an almana ben erison the Kohen Gadol could marry kamash malan. That we say even erison bei machanami. Maybe taka that is the case. Why don't you learn out from Tamar that only a woman who's an almana ben asuin cannot marry Kohen Gadol, but an almana ben erison maybe he could marry. Ei machanami says do me the grusha. No, because the pasuk is almana grusha lo yikach. Ma grusha be'men asum ben erison. So davar pasha grusha means divorce, whether it's the suin or erison. Even erison, she needs a get to leave him unless she kills him. So be'men asum be'men erison, you need she's called the grusha, and there's no pasuk there. There's no comparison to Shava to Tamar, anything like that. So grusha is stam ben asum erison. Afalmana be'men erison ben asum. So you don't learn it out from Tamar. But rather, an almana, whether she's a almana, is like a grusha, whether she's an almana min an asuin, an almana min a erison, just like grusha ben an erison ben an asuin. Now, the Mishnah said that the Kohen Gadol, according to Rav Meir, the Tanakama, cannot marry a bogeres. That means a woman who's 12 and a half years old. Some of her virginity is lost due to nature as she gets older. Tana Rabbanim. So the pasuk says an almana grusha is a los asay. There's a asay that he's supposed to marry a girl who is a virgin. Buisha bibsule, but it doesn't say yikach besula. It says yikach. It says buisha bibsuleha. It's a long word. In her virginity. Could have just said kach besula. It doesn't say that. It says Vuisha bibsoikach prat lebogeris, excluding a bogeris shekol b'suleh. Some of her virginity is gone. Divra Meir, meaning she's never slept with anybody, but simply due to nature, as she matures, some of her virginity ba'osamakam gets lost, it dissipates. Okay, so that's what the Tanakhama says. Prat lebogeris shekol b'suleh divra Meir. That's Rav Meir. So Rav Meir says a bogeris that bivsuleh excludes bogeris. Rav Shimon machshim bogeris. He says no, bogeris is okay, just like Kohen Gadol Kumir bogeris, just like Son of Mishnah. Again, bogeris means from 12 and a half and on. What's the machlokas between Rav Meir on the one hand and Rav Shimon on the other hand? What's the basis of the machlokas? So look at the word. Rav Meir savar b'sula fila mixes b'sulam. Had it only said b'sula tikach kiyim b'sula, right? It says kiyim b'sulam b'usha b'sulikach, and then it says amar b'usha kiyim b'sula me'amav yikach isha. Like we had this pasuk at the top of this says b'usha b'sula, and it says kiyim b'sula yikach isha, kiyim b'sula yikach isha. So it says basula. If it would only say basula, I would say, even a partial virginity, meaning if she's 12 and a half years old, as long as she hasn't slept with anybody, some of her virginity remains, right? I feel a mix of basula mashma. Bisuleha, her virginity, the fact that you emphasize bisule, the extra yud in there, but besides the word basula, there's a yud in there, basula, her virginity, adi v'kopsum. So the Tanakam Rav Meir says, you know what it means? All her virginity, meaning once she's 12 and a half, she doesn't have all her virginity, just some of it's left, not all of it. Okay, so therefore she can't get a bogeris. What about bivsuleh? It doesn't say bisuleha yikach or basula yikach. It does say, it says kim basula me'avikach, but at the pasuk of almana yikach, it says what? V'hu isha bivsuleha yikach. What's that extra base for now? You understand what the extra yud is for there. Instead of basula, it says bisuleha. Okay, that takes me, she's got to have all her basulim. That means she can't be 12 and a half. What does bivsuleh include? The kedarka ein shelo kedarka lo. This that we say that she has to have all of virginity is only ba'osamakam in the vaginal area. Bivsuleh means in the vaginal. Beis Yisera says Rashi, Damashma hachin lemedish b'makom b'suleha, in the place of the normal virginity in the vagina area. The hainu kedarka, that's the normal way for bia. Im nivla nifsal kohen. If she had bia, she can't marry a kohen gadol if she's lost her virginity there. But let's say she was bia shlo kedarka, what we call anal sex. That nobody put he didn't put his aver in her vagina, but he did it anally to her. That doesn't ruin her, says the Tan. So Rav Meir is machmer and says bogeris is no good because bibsuleh means all her psulim. It's only a problem. The issue of virginity is only bosa makom, only in the area of the vagina. But shelo kedarka, that doesn't work. She's not called not a psula anymore. So Kohen Gadol could, according to this, marry a woman who had anal sex, as long as her virginity was not affected. That's all Rav Meir. Rav Shimon, who said he could marry a bogeris, they learn the other way. They say Savri basula shlema mashma. We just say basula means she's a total virgin. It means everything. It means only a katana or a nara who hasn't lost any virginity. Bisuleha, that means partial. I feel a mix of basula. Means just the opposite of Rav Meir. Rav Meir said basula would have said partial. Basula means everything. Rav Shimon say no. Basula means everything. Basula means even mixes basula, meaning a bogeris is okay. What about bivsuleha? Now that he says bisuleha comes to what include even it comes to include mashma bisuleha filu mix of psulim. Even partial is okay. What is bivsuleha? So Rav Shimon, who say that bivsuleh is inclusive, right, not exclusive. Rav Meir said bivsuleh would have been partial, would have been okay. Bivsuleh, no, that's exclusive. It's got to be everything. And then bivsuleh then comes to say includes it only kedarka, shelo kedarka lo. In other words, if shelo kedarka is excluded from this problem of basulim. Rav Shimon say no, basula would have been mashma everything. Bivsuleh, no, she doesn't need everything. It excludes everything. And now bivsuleh actually called basula kam bein b'karka shelo kedarka, meaning according to Rav Shimon, if she had bia shelo kedarka, that would ruin her. Rashi right above the Bach. Bivsuleh basis her mashma shtei bivsuleh shelo of the mem klum aydebil. She shouldn't have lost any virginity, whether ba'osa makam kedarka bein shelo kedarka. In other words, we're saying over here that there's anal virginity also, not just virginity in the vagina area, but also virginity in the anal area. Bein kedarka, bein shelo kedarka. But even this Rebbe Begeres Latera, since he's marba bogeres for heter, because he says bibsula even partial, it's a chlameiser beula shelo kedarka. So Rav Meir says the Tanakhama is what that bisulea might have been partial. Bibsulea means no, everything, and then that's inclusive, and then we exclude bia shelo kedarka. Whereas Rav Lazar of Shimon say just the opposite, that bibsulea includes even a bogeres for heter, so therefore we say bibsuleh comes to exclude and say bulush lo kedarka is no good. It's no good. Now that's the machlokes Rav Meir on the one hand and Rav Lazar of Shimon. So the machlokes is in two things. Rav Meir says a kohen gadol cannot marry a bogeres, and Rav Lazar of Shimon said he can. And Rav Meir says that a kohen gadol could marry a woman who was only her virginity was only lost in the anal area. He could marry her, whereas Rav Lazar of Shimon are machmer there and say no. If she had bia shelo kedarka, kohen gadol could also not marry her. Amar b'yun Rav. Now Rav Yehuda says in the name of Rav, we're going to see it's like one of them. Rav says niver shelo kedarka psula lakuna. Listen very carefully. If she had bia shelo kedarka, meaning not regular sex but anal sex, she still can't marry a kohen gadol. Doesn't mean a regular kohen, because a kohen can marry a woman who was an almana, right? A regular kohen can marry an almana. Can't marry a grusha, but he can marry an almana, or he can marry a woman who had, let's call it casual sex. He wasn't married to her at all. As we'll see, Rabbi Lazar is a special sheet that he holds that plenty of us on, but we don't hold that way. According to Rabbi Lazar, today 99.99% of the people out there would be considered zonas because they had premarital sex or extramarital sex or whatever, and that makes them into a zona. We don't hold that way. We hold the zona that a kohen cannot marry, even a regular kohen cannot marry, is only a woman who had bia with somebody that she can't. For example, we gave the example of a woman, the Jewish woman had bia with a goy, that would make her into a zona. But otherwise not. Okay, so that's not a zona, as we say, but niver shelo kedarka, she's possible for a kohen gadol. For a kohen, she's okay, but a kohen gadol has to marry a virgin, a psula. So if you have bia shelo kedarka, says a rakuna. Now, Masav Rava, what do you mean? Listen to it. Now we'll see. Obviously, it's only going to go like one sheet here. Niver shelo kedarka psula lakuna. We're going to say that goes like Rav Lazar and Rav Shimon. That's what's going to come out. Masav Rava, yes, it's kasha. Lo si Elisha. Where does it say that? If a man rapes a girl, now Rav Psula, he rapes her. He has to take her. He has to pay the father $50, and he has to take her for a wife. Lo si Elisha. Bisha Rilo, only if he's fit for her. Prat la almana kohen gadol. What happens if kohen gadol? What if the kohen gadol raped an almana? Okay, yeah, that's right. Now we're talking over here. Obviously, let's say almana men erison, so she's still a psula. Okay, so almana the kohen gadol or grusha b'chutz l'kohen. Let's say a young girl was divorced or chalutza. She never had bia, and a kohen raped her. Okay, kohen can't marry the grusha, right? He raped the grusha. How was she a grusha and still a psula? She was, a grusha. The father married her off to a man, and she was 10 years old, and then he divorced her. So she's a grusha. Kohen can't marry her. Let's say the kohen rapes her. Is to pay $50,000. He also has to marry her, right? But he can't marry her because he's a kohen to a grusha. So it says lo si Elisha only if she's fit for him, excluding almana kohen gadol grusha for zakayt. And what's the case over here? Ilay kedarka. If what? If he had bia with her kedarka, okay. Or what do you mean? The bias owner Shabala. How did he rape her? How did this kohen gadol rape the almana, or the kohen, let's say, rape the grusha? Okay, what are we talking about? If he raped in the regular way, so my ir mishum almana. Why do you say the kohen gadol can't marry her? Because what? Lo si Elisha excluding an almana. She has to be a psula. A kohen gadol can only marry a virgin, a psula, right? So you say over there, if the kohen gadol raped this woman, this almana, right? Kohen gadol raped this almana. Let's assume she was at the time he raped her. She was a basula, right? But how did he rape her? Ilay Mikadar can be raped the normal way. So why do you say he shouldn't marry because she's an almana? Because she is now a bula. She is now no longer she's no longer a virgin. And we're going to see later on. Also, he can't marry, even though it's his own. She only lost her virginity because of him, right? He raped this young girl. He has to pay the father $50 and he has to marry her. He can't marry her because he's a Kohen and she's an almana, right? She's an almana. But what's the case? How did he rape her? If he raped her in the normal way, why do you say he can't marry her because she's an almana? He can't marry her because she's not a psula anymore. Because of him, he can't because of him. So what's the case over here? He says, Lo Elisha, excluding, only when it's fit for him, excluding a case, let's say, of almana kohen gadol. What do you mean almana kohen gadol? What was the rape? What was the nature of the rape? It was a normal rape where she lost her virginity, so he can't marry her. Why do you say he can't marry? Because she's an almana. He can't marry because she's not a psula. El lav shelo kedarka. Must be speaking about he raped her shelo kedarka. Raping your chayiv for the $50 and to marry her, however he raped her. And what do you say? What's he raped her shelo kedarka? What's the problem? She's an almana. Why don't you say also she's bula? You just said Rav Rav says that if she had bia shelo kedarka, she's still not considered a virgin. Even anal sex would prohibit her from marrying. She's not considered a virgin anymore. She can't marry the kuna. The kuna means a kohen gadol. So what do you mean she can marry? Because so if that would really be the case, that bia shelo kedarka forbids her from marrying a kohen gadol because she's no longer a psula. So why over here do you say that that in this case where the kohen gadol raped the woman, he can't marry her? Why? Because she's an almana. Okay, she's not a ba'ula. You're saying because he didn't rape her in the normal way, right? He raped her shelo kedarka. But you just said bia shelo kedarka also ruins the regarding mishum almana and mishum ba'ula. According to Rav Yirmiyah, that's also ba'ula. Even if he raped her shelo kedarka, she's still ba'ula and shouldn't be able to coin. Why do you say because an almana? She's not a psula anymore. Hamani says the Gemara, no. Hamani Rav Meir. Very good. Also very simple. Goes like Rav Meir who says this case of Lo Elisha. This brisa that says that if the kohen gadol raped her, even shelo kedarka, he can't marry her. He can't marry her. Why? Because she's an almana, not because of bula. You know why? Because like Rav Meir. What did Rav Meir say above? That a bia shelo kedarka does not take away her virginity. Remember, if she only had a partial virginity, meaning she's a bogeres, he can't marry her. But if she lost her virginity by a bia shelo kedarka, that's not a problem. According to Meir, says very good. Hamani Rav Meir. So therefore, she's not considered a ba'ula there. When the kohen gadol raped her shelo kedarka, why can't he marry her? Not because she's a ba'ula, because Rav Meir holds she's not a ba'ula. That's her virginity. The problem is she's an almana. An almana, he can't marry. But Rav Damak Rav Lezer and Rav again, Rav who said Nivul shelo kedarka psula lakuna. He says that's a kohen gadol cannot marry her. He goes like Rav Lezer. We said Rav Lezer and Rav Shimon say even though Rav Shimon are makel by bogeres, they're machmer by shelo kedarka. They say from bib sulem. Rav Damak Rav Lezer says, no, wait a minute. Rav Lezer. Okay. There's some noise. If it's Rav Lezer, excuse me, just mute this. Thank you. Your hearing is better than mine. Okay. Ikra Belezer, Mayur Mishim Ba'ula, typically at Avelizona. According to Rav Lezer, what do you say? This is not Rav Lezer, Rav Lezer. Remember I said before, Rav Lezer, we don't paskin like him, but Rav Lezer holds that if two people have sex extramaritally, right? It's sex, she's a zona, period. You have to get married to have bia. Yeah, we don't hold that way. Otherwise, everybody would be, 99% of people would be zonas today, right? But he goes, but according to Blezer, it's zona. So my rule, if you're saying that if Rabbi Yehuda Marav, who said Nivul shelo kedarka psula lakuna, she can't marry Cohen, why? Because she's no longer a virgin, she's not a psula anymore. And you say, oh, that goes according to Rabbi Blezer, right? That goes from Blezer. This price of Lo Elisha, that's Rav Meir. The one who says bia shelo kedarka makes her pasuk on is Rav Lezer. Wait a minute, according to Rav Lezer, why do you have to say she's not a that bia shelo kedarka makes her a ba'ula, not a psula? She's no longer a psula. She's a zona. Even a kohen can't marry her. Even a regular kohen can't marry a zona, right? Even a regular kohen can't marry a zona. Rav Lezer, Mayur Mishim Ba'ula, typically to have a zona. She's a zona. Dam Rav Lezer, Pani Abal Pnei Shloshik Mishas, zona us a zona. We don't paskin that way, but that's Rav Lezer's famous shita. That if a single man lives with a single girl, she's a zona. So over here, the Kohen Gadol over here, or the Kohen Kesevusha, made her a zona. He can't marry because of that. What do you have to say because of Almana? You know how she lost it? She lost it through bestiality. When he said over here, Nivul shelo kedarka psula lakuna, he says he's talking about a specific case where she had bia with an animal. An animal raped her, let's say. Okay, an animal raped her. and he raped her from behind. Let's call it nivla shelo kedarka. She can't marry a Kohen, and that's what you're speaking about. Because otherwise, what are you talking about? It can't be. You say, why would she bust a Kohen? Rav Meir holds that she's allowed to marry she can marry a Kohen Gadol if it was just bia shelo kedarka, right? Elamai, when you say bia shelo kedarka ruins her from marrying a Gadol, going like her blazer, but contra blazer she would be a zona. What do you have to say? Because of why do you say asura because she's a bu'ula? Rabbi Rav says bia shelo kedarka makes her bu'ula. She's no longer psula. She's a zona. She's a zona if it was if a bia shelo kedarka. No, it's not a zona. You know why? Because she lost her virginity. The bia shelo kedarka was by an animal. It's not. Right? The Hasam Mishum Bu'ulikim, she's not a zona. Why? Because the Gemara is going to say that Ain's Nusla Behema. Whatever it is, it's forbidden, of course, to do it willingly, Rahmal Islam. But if an animal raped her, it doesn't make her into a zona, even according to a blood roll. It's funny about Pania, that's only a human connection, but an animal not. So he says, the Hasam Mishum Bu'ulikim, she's not a zona. Does that make sense? If she's a bu'ula, if she's considered that she had bia with somebody, but also makam that she lost her virginity, then she's also a zona. Be zona lahavi. If she's not a zona, she's also not a bula. How do you reconcile those? I'll tell you what the problem is. Midi dahavia mukasates. We said in the Mishnah, mukasates, and Rashi points out that's for blazer. Mukasates means if she lost her virginity due to an injury, like Kurt said, due to sports injury or something like that. And he says you couldn't marry that girl. So what do you want to say now? That's also shelo kedarka would be forbidden. In other words, when Rabbi Rav says be nivla shelo kedarka psula lakuna, and you're saying it can't be by a man because then she'd be a zona, not because of bula, and it can't be with an animal because ain's nusla behema, and then that's not a bula. And maybe you'll say, well, it's no worse than a stick than putting a stick over there. But a stick anally, that's what we're talking about, bia shelo kedarka, stick anally, and that's mukasex would also be forbidden. Is that what Rabbi Rav says? If that's the case, nobody can marry a Kohen. Just by a woman cleaning herself after going to the bathroom, using a rock or whatever they used in those days, they all have lost some of their virginity. You see the concept over here that virginity is not a simple thing. It's not like yes or no. It's not like a piece of paper. Virginity can be lost in stages. And there's virginity anally also. Because he says, if that would be the case, you're telling me that Rabbi Rav says that bia shelo kedarka is also to marry a Kohen Gadol. And we're talking about what kind of a bia? What kind of a bia is it that she's not a zona and she's not but she's still considered ba'ula? If it was an animal, it's not ba'ula, it's not zona according to Abaya. Then what could it be? Are you going to tell me it's because it's like mukas eitz, shelo b'osamakam, shelo kedarka? If that would be the case, that would prevent Kohen Gadol can't marry anybody. Is there a woman around who hasn't wiped herself? There's no such thing. So who can marry? Elam Rav Zera, I'll tell you, you know how it can work out? She was a child. She was a child, and she was married as a child, and she walked away from the marriage. Says Rashi, take a look at Rashi, b'ma'enes. Elam Rav Zera, mishkachas la'ad alibra blazer. How is she a bula and she's not a zona, she's not a mush, she's not a grusha? B'ktani yasoma. It was kind of yasoma. She, let's say, didn't have her father, or her father had married off once before. Hanisas laba, she got married to this guy. Ubala shelo kedarka. The husband only had deal with her shelo kedarka, and then she walked away before the age of 12, which she can by a kedushin rabbanan, where her father did not marry her off, her mother, her brothers married her off, family married her off. She can walk away. That's called miyun, right? It's only a marriage. It's only a marriage rabbanan, right? The ein kam sul's nus valmanas v'goshen. She's not a widowed. She's not divorced. She's not a zona because she was married to the guy legitimately midrabbanan. Bashmi and Rav Diesh kam sul, but she's a kohen gadol. Maybe that's what he's telling me. However, even though Abai objected to that concept, that he said if she's a bula, she's a zona, whatever, and she's on a bula, we said like Rav says no nivla behema. If she had beer with an animal, she's kashtuna. If she had beer with somebody who's not a human person, even though if it was done intentionally, chayiv misa, you got to kill the animal too, right? That's called bestiality, right? Beer with an animal. She can still marry a Kohen because it's not considered a bia. There's a special issue not to commit bestiality for which you'd be punished by stoning if you did it intentionally with Adam, etc. However, that doesn't take away from her virginity, even though it was now if she technically, presumably, it means over here shelo kedarka, right? Why? Because because it would be if it would be kedarka b'osamakim, she lost her virginity anyway. So, but you could be saying that a regular Kohen could marry a woman as long as she's not a grusha. So even if it's b'osamakim, she can marry a Kohen. Why? Because she's not a grusha. She's not a grusha, and she's not a zona. That's what he's saying. Kasha l'kuna mean even a Kohen. There was a story with a young girl, the Hisla, that was the name of the place. She was cleaning the house. And some hunting dog, a big dog there, raped her from behind. Rebbe says she can marry a Kohen, right? Because that's not considered znus, ein znus lebehema, and it doesn't do anything. It doesn't make it. Yeah. Amar Shmuel ula Kohen gadol. Shmuel says even a Kohen gadol. Says the Gemara, what do you mean? How could Amar Shmuel Kohen Gadol? You said that Rebbe was matzah for Kohen Gadol. Be made Rebbe Kohen Gadol mihavi. Rebbe was generations after the Churban. There was no Kohen Gadol there. Ela ru'uya Kohen Gadol. She could even marry Kohen Gadol. Meaning, we're saying here that Bia Shelo Kedarka, we said, doesn't affect her like going to her mayor, doesn't affect her eligibility to marry Kohen Gadol. So if it was Ba'osa Makom, then presumably she couldn't marry Kohen Gadol. But with Shelo Kedarka, she could marry a Kohen Gadol. If it was Ba'osa Makom, she could marry a Kohen because it's not considered a Bia. She's not considered, it as a Kohen, regular Kohen can marry a woman as long as she's not a Grush. She can marry an Almani, can marry a Ba'ula. Right, a woman, a regular Kohen can marry a woman who's had premarital sex, etc. As long as she didn't have it with somebody who she's not allowed to marry. So again, that would make her into a zona. But otherwise, this doesn't. Amalei Rav Parsika. That was name is place for Rav Ashi. How do we know this thing that the rabbi said? Where do we get this from? Angels of Behema. Where do we get it from? Damar Rabban Angels of Behema. The pasuk is like this: Lo savi esnan zona. Remember, you cannot give the higher, the payment, the fee of a zona. Meaning, let's say you brought a little shepsel, a little lamb, an animal that's normally kosher to bring as a carbon. We've learned that there's only 3 animals you can bring as a carbon: animals, not birds. Shor kesavanes, right? And a cow, an ox, or a lamb, or a goat. Now, let's say he brought a goat or a lamb, and he gave that to a zona as the fee for the znus. So that's what the pasuk says. You can't. If that animal was the fee for the hire, her fee for her services rendered, you can't bring that animal to the base of Mikdash. The animal's kosher. You could shachti, you just can't bring it as a carbon. And also, let's say you exchanged this lamb for a dog, right? You did a barter. That also is no good. That's the plus because you can't bring it as a carbon. It's non. What about the reverse? What about esnan kela? Rashi learns this. Bach brings down. Rashi brings it otherwise in Tamura, but here and elsewhere, esnan kela means he gives the prostitute, the zona, a dog. I'm sorry. He gives her a lamb, and he says, "Sleep with my dog." Tells her to sleep with the dog. Esnan kel. That means the hire of the fire for sleeping with a dog. That's esnan kel. Umachir zona, or let's say the zona was a slave and he exchanged her for this animal, for this lamb. Those things are mutter because it says esnan zona, the hire of a zona, not the hire of a dog, and the mechir kelev, the exchange of a dog, but not the exchange of a zona. If you exchanged a zona for an animal, let's say you traded her in a slave deal, that animal would still be kosher in the base of Mikdash. Mutar mishim shnemer gam shneim. It says both of those shneim below arba. That's how we get the idea that angels lebehema. That it says lo savi esnan zon mechir kelev, but esnan kelev would be okay. Why? That's not considered znus. Sleeping with the kelev is not considered znus. Now, of course, it's forbidden under punishment of skila, but it's not considered znus. Tana Rabbanan. We said everybody agrees that the Kohen Gadol must marry a virgin. The pasuk says, right? Kiyim b'sula v'yamav buisha. The pasuk says buisha b'sula yikach, and the pasuk before says, or the next pasuk says, almana grusha zona v'chala esei lo yikach kiyim b'sula v'yamav yikach isha kiyim b'sula. So it says b'sula, it says b'sula. So he has to marry, but the lo saseh is going on what? On almana grusha v'zona, right? On marrying a psula, that's an asay. So let's say he violated that. Let's say he raped a girl or seduced a girl. Right? Futa means he seduced her. If he seduced her, now the halacha is if he raped a girl, he has to pay the father $50. And he has to marry her. If he seduced her, if he marries her, he doesn't have to pay $50. But if he doesn't marry her, he has to pay the $50 to the father. Okay. So what about if he himself did that? He can't marry her because she's not a virgin. The rule is he has to marry a virgin. She's not a virgin anymore. But if he married his own rapee, what's the word? Rapee? The girl that he owned seduced, huh?
Victim.
His own victim. Yeah, good. That solves the problem, right? If he married her, it's a marriage. Now, why is it a marriage? Presumably, even according to Akiva, that says losase, that says that a losase, the execution is not tofus by a losase, but here it's an asay, and therefore the execution could be tofus. Let's say, okay. What happens if he marries somebody else's victim? Also, he can't marry. He's not a virgin. If he married Rav Lezer, Yaakov says a vlad halal. It's a halal because this is a Kohen Gadol marrying somebody that he's not supposed to marry, right? Not supposed to marry, and therefore the shasach of a chamar man vlad kosher. The vlad is kosher. Why? Because she's not considered a zona by that. Not like Rav Lezer, not considered a zona, and she wasn't a grusha. She wasn't an almana, so she was just raped or seduced. So Racham say the vlad is kosher. Okay. When we say over here nasa nasui, I mean, are we sanctioning that? We're saying it's okay. We're saying, you know what? He's not supposed to marry. He's only supposed to marry a virgin. If he marries a girl who's not a virgin, due to his own act, okay, it's a marriage. He's not supposed to. If he did it, he did it. Says the Gemara nasa nasi amrav hunam arav. So Rav says that umotzi beget. He has to divorce her. He's not allowed. We don't allow her to keep him. Motzi beget. It's not proper. Lo used to go to the Sibasula Yikach, Shas the Kuchen, Psula. So she's supposed to be Psula, even though it was his own act that did it, but he's not supposed to marry, and therefore he has to give her yet. Vela Tadi Nasa Nasi. So what does it mean Nasa Nasi? Nasa Nasi sounds like if he's not supposed to, but if he married her, it's married. Amar Bacha Bar Yaakov, Lomer Sha'ain Mishalim Knas B'Mafuta. Means this. He has to divorce her, but the rule, what did I say? If he seduces a girl, he only has to pay the 50 if he doesn't marry her. So, but if he married her, in this case, he married her wrongly because he's only supposed to marry a thing, but he doesn't. He gets out of the $50 that way. The Nesuin helps, even though he's supposed to. We told him to divorce her, but the Nesuin helps to pata from the knas. If he refuses to marry her, a person who rapes a girl knows the miyana. Okay, so that's what he says. So what's the rule? The Kohen's only supposed to marry a psula. Let's say he married a girl who's not a psula. So we said, if she's a zona or a halala or a grusha or an almana, okay, the plus says you can't marry those because according to Bekiva, Kishun Nichal. Right? According to Nichal, because those are all losas. But if he marries a girl who's a psula, but he took away her virginity before the marriage, also he shouldn't do it. But if he did it, he did it. So Ravuna says he's supposed to marry her. Okay, so what is it? So what's the point of that nothing else? He doesn't have to pay the $50. Also, Rav Gvia makes Rav Gvia from that place from Makes went. He said this. Ravuna said in front of Rashi because Ravuna said you got to divorce her, even though he was the one who took away virginity. He has to divorce her because when he married her, she wasn't psula. Amalei, but Rav and Rabbi Yochanan. What I mean, two great rabbis, Rav and Rabbi Yochanan, Damar Tavayo. They both said Rav and Rabbi Yochanan. Rav was sometimes in Eretz Yisrael. Rabbi Yochanan was always in Eretz Yisrael. Rav and Yochanan, Damar Tavayo. They both said Bogeres Umukas Eitz. Right, Lo Yisa. He's not supposed to marry a Kohen Gadol, right? Not supposed to marry a Bogeres and a Mukas Eitz. That means, like we saw in the Mishnah, like Rav Meir, and therefore the Mukas Eitz is probably going on Rav Meir and Rav Yehuda in our Mishnah. Lo Yisa v'im nasa nasui. But if he married him, Alma, Sofalios Bogeres Tachtav, Sofalios Mukas Eitz Tachtav. Okay, you're not supposed to marry a girl who's a Bogeres or Mukas Eitz because she's not a psula. But if he did, it's marriage. You say the marriage because anyway she was going to lose her virginity anyway, right? To him. Right? The Kohen Gadol is supposed to marry a girl who's only a virgin, but after he marries her, she's not a virgin anymore. Well, so he did it already, yeah, but it's not that. So he says, meaning he doesn't have to divorce her. She's going to be bula anyway, whether it's because he shouldn't marry a Bulgarian, he shouldn't marry Mukas Eitz because they're not considered a psula. But if he did, it's done, and he can stay married to her. So how did Rav Huna say over here, in the case where he took away her virginity, motzi beget? Why? What's nasi? Oh, nasi only that he doesn't have to pay the father $50. But here it's mashma that if you marry a bogeres or a mukas eitz, if he does it, it's a good marriage. Why? Because eventually she's going to lose it to him anyway. So here also she lost the machanami safaliyas bul tachtov, and maybe she should stay married. He doesn't have to divorce her. Kasha, it's like a kasha on Rav Huna because it's mashma that he doesn't have to divorce her after he married her, after he had raped. All right, we'll pick up here tomorrow. Have a good day. Chag sameach l'kulam.